Welcome back to another riveting, exciting edition of Bitter-Swede Garage. You know, if you're looking for the latest innovation, the best tools, I can guarantee you this isn't it. However, if you are looking for ways to wing it, multiple uses of baling wire and duct tape, then this is your channel. So stay tuned, and I'm going to show you what's going on with 46. Got a little SPF 500 over the truck here. Hopefully it will help keep the temp down to a reasonable 95-ish. Humidity's low, you know, so I guess that means it's a dry heat, but either way it's gonna melt things like me. But anyway, we're gonna get to it. The first thing I'm gonna do, if you look down yonder, point you in the right direction. Some genius welded both parts of the U-joint to the shaft, and the output shaft and the input shaft. So that would be me. So anyway, I'm going to undo this U-joint. Hopefully I can get it apart, because I believe this is one piece all the way down to the steering box. So let's see what I need. Tiny Allen wrench, maybe something to punch these out with, and I'm probably going to bend them, and it's never going to work the same, but it'll do what it needs to do. Alright, let's see what size Allen wrench this is. If memory serves me, which it never does. Nope, that's not it. And maybe it's probably metric and I have a standard set, but it seems to be working. Let me get you in here. Alright, so I don't think I have a metric kit. All I have is this bag of Allen wrenches that I've saved from multiple furniture projects that come with an Allen wrench. You know, all those bad boys. Let's see if one of these random citizens works. Promising. Too small. Next one up. That looks too big. Come on. You know you'll want to go in your home. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Alright. Let me squirrel these out of here, and then I will show you what I'm going to do next. Next, I've got this busted C-clamp. This is supposed to be on here, but broke that many years ago. And instead of doing the right thing and getting a new one, I use this. It just so happens that it's the right size. Poke this bad boy out. So, actually, I need a socket for the other side for this to slip in to the socket. And I have to do it to both sides just so I can shimmy that out. Alright, got my socket here. It's important that you use a standard socket. Not really, you can use whatever socket's bigger than the diameter of this bearing here. Hopefully I can finesse this out without dropping the socket 5,000 times. Alright, let's see. You gotta play nice. Oh, yep, see? It's moving past the point of no return. But just enough to where it starts to bind up, because I don't want to ruin the bearing. All right. grab this, turn it so I can see it. Well, you all can't see it, but I can see it. I'm just gonna work this bearing out like so. Make sure all the little bearing rods are in the inside, which they are. All right, try to get that full of dust. And then I'm gonna work this other side. Well, after consorting with myself and arguing, I didn't answer out loud, so I guess I'm not crazy. Anyway, this is just gonna be a big pain in the butt, and I am just ruining these bearings anyway, so I'm gonna just cut it here and here to free this shaft up, and then I will install a new U-joint later. Don't know if that's the best idea either, only because this end is also welded to this shaft. It will not just slide off. So, do I want to do that? I don't know. Problems. Let me compute this for a minute. Alright, so I've decided I've done enough damage to this U-joint anyway, so I'm resorting to violence. And just like that, she's free. Free of all the wants and desires of steering a truck. Alright, so now that that's done, hate destroying things in order to repair things, but whatever. I'm going to attempt to take the steering box off now. Let's see how that goes. GM in their infinite wisdom back in the 40s. They put the steering box here. You got these two bolts, I think only two, it might be more, holding the steering box to the frame. You've got this pitman arm here, but this shaft runs all the way through. And there's no way to move this out without moving the exhaust. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is lower that. May have to remove it entirely. We'll see what's going on farther down the line. Survey says 5/16. Sorry, 5/8. Let's see. Can't really tell. Might be larger. 11/16. Nope, too big. Nine sixteenths. First try. Oh, they're not on there like welded tight, which is nice. Thank you, Andrew. Let's see if I can not drop the nut and washer. Highly unlikely. Nope, there goes the washer. Wow, I can actually see it. That's an anomaly. Let me just shimmy under the truck. It's no big deal. Alright, so the exhaust, I don't know if you can see my hand here or not. The exhaust comes along here. And there's actually a exhaust clamp here, but it might have enough movement to swing out of the way. We're about to find out. You know, without having to take more things apart. That was surprisingly loose. May have been the source of my exhaust leak. You never know. Who doesn't enjoy the smell of progress and exhaust coming through the windshield. Is that righty tighty or lefty loosey? I think that's lefty loosey. Uh-huh. Washer, yes. Alright. Let's move this down out of the way. Maybe. Why you always gotta be so violent? Alright. Let me grab something to leverage it with. Socket, since it's right here. Sorry, the socket wrench. Nope, she's not gonna fit. Let me grab my screwdriver. When in doubt, pry that son of a gun out with the biggest screwdriver that you got. Am I even in the right spot? I can't see what I'm doing. Not really many places to leverage on here. Maybe. Alright, what am I hanging up on here? Hopefully not the linkage to the carburetor. Feels like something's in the way. Trials of life. Okay, promising. Okay, that's down. What else we got? No. She is a sturdier mount than I thought, so I guess we're gonna have to drop the whole exhaust. At least that pipe. There's two separate pipes. High speed, double exhaust. Let's go into the truck. What we have here is a failure to communicate. So, got this mount here, which I think is that one piece. Nope, two different pieces. So I'll undo this clamp here, which should... Oh look, he welded them together. That's nice. It looks like I might be able to just undo this mount here. And where's the other one? I don't actually see another one. So, actually, I don't have to undo this clamp. Sorry, let me adjust the angle here. Don't have to undo this clamp or that one since they're tied together, but I do have to undo this bolt so the whole exhaust can drop down. And I think there's just the one hanger, to use a technical term. So let me find the right wrench socket combo for that. Alright. Will this fall on my face? That's an age-old question. Things that should probably be figured out before undoing bolts, but as I like this, as I said earlier, I enjoy winging it. Can I save this washer? Yes. Okay. Oh, two washers. Andrew was generous. Alright, is this welded? I can't tell with my gloved hand, but this does not appear to be going anywhere. What is happening? There is it's like a Allen wrench bolt here, but I don't know if that's gonna come free. Why is that not popping out? All right, again, I choose violence. Let me grab a hammer. Be right back. All right, before beating it unnecessarily, I decided to try the old socket method. It's just a tight fit, all right? I'll spin this out of here. And should be good to go. Eventually. All right. Get that out of there before I trap my socket. Just not a great way to get my hand up there. Come on. All right, so I successfully removed this bolt. So it's loose, however, now it hits the transmission mount. So I am going to have to remove both exhaust mounts. Shouldn't be a huge deal until I do the other one. Lefty loosey. Alright. This guy's here. A little easier to get to. I don't feel any washers on this one. What's going on here? Well, when you run out of washers, you do what you gotta do. Right, Andrew? Alright. This guy does not want to go on because he seems to be bent. Or this is tilted this way. Get on. Oh, gosh. Alright, let me go get a wrench. Alright. That didn't take a whole lot. Oh, she's a shaking. One must be a contortionist when working on any vehicle, I think. Alright, that looks to be sufficiently hung. Let's see if I can finagle it out of the back of the truck. Alright, using the laws of physics against me, it just needs to be out of the way enough to clear the steering box. Wow, this is just not going to come out easily. Without a fight. Alright. I think if I break my camera, let's see. It should be enough room. Nope. Pipe's still in the way. I don't know if you can see that. Let's do some more moving and shaking and see if I can wiggle it out of the way. Alright, so the exhaust, I was able to slide forward, and I think that's enough room, because if it's not, the engine's got to come out, which would be bad. We don't need that. Yeah, the exhaust would not come out without taking off the trans mount. Again, another thing I don't want to touch. Alright, so there's two bolts holding this in. First thing I'm going to do is try to remove this pitman arm. Andrew says that it came off easily last time, so, or at least he had it off recently. So let's take a whack at that and see if we can remove that bolt. Alright, I found the largest sockets I have. What is this? 1 1/4? Oh, what? first try? No way. Let's see, this is a 30 millimeter. Nope. Well, that's gonna be it. I'm gonna grab my impact and just hammer the crap out of this. And hopefully it spins right off. And hopefully it's not reverse thread. Might want to Google that. Alright. I've got the Milwaukee set to stun. Let's see if I can do this from here. What? That's too easy. Something else is bound to go wrong. I was about to knock this off, and I noticed this. That movement can't be good. What I'm afraid of is the worm gear in here is stripped. I was hoping it was something like the worm gear broke a weld or something off the input shaft, but now I'm thinking it's probably the worm gear is shot. Not good. Not good at all. After consulting with my mentor, aka Google, it says adjusting the steering box on a 1940 Chevy Truck involves adjusting the worm bearing, preload, and sector lash to remove excess play and ensure proper steering function. So it may have been just a bearing adjustment, like the worm gear bearing preload bolt was backed out. If that's the case, fantastic. I've already done irreparable damage to the U-joint, so that's going to have to come out either way. But at least if that's all it is, I don't have to remove the steering box. So let's take a look at that, see if I can adjust it to where it actually grabs again, and go from there. Alright, first things first. Loosen this bolt again. Maybe. You were just being a piece. You know, some things came easy and then this happens. Knew there was a reason. Alright, so let me get my flesh out here. Yep, there's a screwdriver tip, flathead, that is used to adjust that. So let me grab one of those, short style, and see if I can adjust the bearing lash. Well, I guess either way I would have had to remove the exhaust, so whatevs. I'm just going to remove this entirely, because I can't see what I'm doing. And this screwdriver is going to be too big. Fantastic. I don't think I have a shorter one. Oh yeah, I can turn it with my hand. That, ladies and gentlemen, is loose. Now maybe I spun part of it out when I was taking the nut off. Just gonna set that here so I don't lose it. Okay. I'm wondering if that was loose and it just worked its way out the more I use the steering. Check these things, guys and gals, before going for a test drive. At least I wasn't on the highway. Not that this thing can go much more than 40 miles an hour. Alright, let me see if I can grab something to turn the it almost sheared off. Something I can check the steering with. So it wasn't as simple as I thought. Yes, the bearing lash was loose, but as you can see, I was able to just pull the shaft out. I actually haven't investigated the why yet. Alright, so this should not just be able to pull out. Let's see, let me set this camera up at a better angle and we'll witness the carnage together. Alright, here she goes. This is just sliding right out. The bearing is thankfully peeling the grease off the end. She's stuck. We'll just bang that bearing out. Slide hammer style. Maybe. And it's too short to see what's going on this end. I'm hoping it's not sheared. Can't possibly be sheared. I mean, that's 3/4 inch bar. Unless it twisted off. Still, I don't see how that would happen. Let me grab a screwdriver and get this bearing out. Alright, time to wipe this grease off. See what's happening. Well, it looks like someone welded that bad boy on. Who knows how long ago. But I can see the grinder marks where they removed or tried to smoothen out the weld, but they did not weld the center. So that was dangerous. It's going to need a whole new shaft. Which makes me think, do I keep the electronic steering or do I go back to manual? Because I'm going to have to get a whole new shaft anyway. Let's take a look at the other end of the shaft. Yep, more of the same. It's just a weld that broke. So, I mean, yeah, there's still a lot of play, but that's not the main problem. That is the main problem. What to do? What to do? Well, I'm gonna have to go on the interwebs and look for parts. But in the meantime, you all put in the comments what you think the next best course of action would be. All right, here's the game plan. Tell me what you think of this idea. All right, so here's all the parts. Broken down and broken. As you can see here, this used to attach here. And probably what happened is someone replaced the steering with a new cab. Who knows? They just didn't want to take the whole unit out, so they cut it and then welded it and then ground most of the weld off. So it didn't take much to break. Plus the weld didn't penetrate that far into either shaft. Here's my broken U-joint since I cut it off. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove this. I'm gonna have to break my awesome welds. Look at them booger welds. But I'll cut this off. Hopefully don't ruin the shaft more than I already have. Same thing here. Clean this up, and I'm gonna take it to a guy who can cut these into decoupler sized shafts. What do you think of that? I think it's a fix to where I can use what I have and not have to get a whole new steering. Now, if I need to, I'll get a whole new steering, but hopefully that's not the case. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Bitter-Swede Garage. Not the ending I was looking forward to, but that just means I get to buy more parts. So again, put it in the comments below whether you think it should be restored back to original. Should I continue my pursuit of electronic steering? Let me know. Thanks again for liking, subscribing. We'll see you next time.